On today's show, we're doing some laser cutting and engraving, as well as we take a look at one of our community members' maker spaces. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome to the show. My name is Richard Cleveland. I'm your host here every week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on The First Layer. Welcome to the show. It's Valentine's Day, so I'm wearing a little red. I got a target there, so you never know what could happen. On today's show, as I said, we are looking at laser cutting and engraving with the Speedy 100 by Trotec. It is their entry-level model. It's a beautiful little machine. They lent it to us for a little while so that we could play with it and I could share it with you guys. So what we did was we cut some coasters, we cut a few other things, did some engraving, gonna start making a couple of lighted signs. But I want to take you guys through the process of how you get set up to actually do laser cutting. And we start with Adobe Illustrator. So let's go to that now. All right, so here we are in Adobe Illustrator. And this is set up for myself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create a new document. And we want to get things set up for the laser cutter, the Trotec Speedy 100 laser cutter. So we're just going to go create new document. And then we should get a dialog box pop up here. All right, so we're going to create a new artboard. We're just going to call this one Laser Cutter. So we know for later which one it is. And our laser cutter cuts 24 inches by 12 inches. And we want to make sure that our orientation is on landscape. We're going to have one artboard. Our type of measurement we want to make sure is in inches. We're not going to do anything in the bleed area, but we are going to open up the advanced options. One thing you want to make sure of here is that you are in RGB color space. There are two here, CMYK and RGB. You want to make sure that you're in RGB color. Your resolution raster effect can be 300 dots per inch. And then our preview mode is going to be default. So we're all ready to go. We've got our name, we've got our size, and we don't have to create a bleed on this. So we're just going to go create. And now we've got our artboard. What I like to do is I like to turn on my rulers just so I know what size I've got. And I like to take my artboard and make sure that I'm viewing the entire artboard in the window. So there we go. So now we've got that done. I'm also going to change up here. Normally, your layout is set to essentials. What we want to do is we want to bring that up to essentials classic. We're going to get some more tools over here. It's just easier to use. So we're going to just close up that. We're going to bring in our own artboard now, or pardon me, we want to set up our colors first. So what we have to do is we have to go up to our color space, and I believe I've got one already set up here. Let me just make sure that I've got one set up. So we're on RGB. We don't have to go to web. Let's create a new swatch. So our first color is going to be black, which is 0, 0, 0. So 0, 0, 0. Create. Or click OK. So now we have our first swatch, which is black. We're going to continue creating our swatches so that we know exactly what colors to use. And we do know that because our Trotec laser comes with its own color space. So I want to make sure that we have all the colors that we need. So we're just going to continue to set this up. I'll run through this, and then we will, once we've finished all of the colors for the Trotec, we'll actually start to bring in some artwork. All right, so we have our swatches loaded. We're ready to go. Now, this artboard represents our cutting area. What I like to do is I like to pull in some guidelines. As you can see, I'm going to go to about 1/4 of an inch and about 1/4 of an inch this way. And that's where I'm going to start my artwork, because if I start it anywhere else, it tends to get jumbled, as it were. So let's just move our color space over here. So we've got it. We're going to use our Temp 1 Trotec color space down here. We're not going to bother using these swatches up here. So now let's get our artwork. And in this case, we're going to pull in a piece of artwork that we have, and we're going to place this. Now, you can bring in any sort of artwork that you want. I'm just going to go to my picture file. It should be black and white. Doesn't have to be. Now, I'm probably going to make mistakes at this because I am still very new to doing this type of work. So bear with me. If I make a mistake, don't kill me. So here we are. I've got some pictures here. I'm just going to grab, let's see, what do I want to grab? So I'm going to grab my logo and place my logo here in the corner where it intersects. There it is. Going to make that a little bit larger, because for this I want to cut out, let's say I want to cut out a shape. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, actually, because I want to, and if you hold the shift key, it will help you to get proper sizing, so you're not skewing the look of your piece. So we're just going to move that over a little bit. Now, I'm also going to put a stroke around this, and that's going to be my cutting line. Black and any of the colors in the color swatch that you've chosen can be used to do anything. Black can be a cutting line, red can be a cutting line, but for simplicity's sake, red is usually our cut line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my I'm going to grab a different tool, the rounded rectangle tool, and I'm going to make a rounded rectangle to go around this. And there we are. There's our rounded rectangle. We want to make sure that we have it on stroke, and we are picking our red color, which is what we need. And our stroke doesn't need to be 1 point. It only needs to be 0.001. So that's 1 micron, and that is what the size of the stroke will be for cutting. So now we've got that set up. We're going to bring that to the forefront. So we've got it. We're going to go back here to our select tool, and we're going to move our logo so it lines up a little bit better. And maybe bring it up, bring it out a little bit. Now, the reason I'm doing it like this is because what I want to do is I want to leave some space here at the bottom so that I can put this into a stand and we can light it up later on down the road. But for now, this is the way it's going to look. So now we've got our document ready. We can actually go in and adjust this document if we want. We can do an image trace, and we probably should to make it a vector. But once we do an image trace, you'll see what happens. See, I lose some lines here once it makes that image trace, and I'm not sure why that's happening, but it could be my particular software here. So what I can do is, this is really cool. Once I expand it, I can go back to this area right here. Let's click off of it first, and we just want to select a specific area. We're going to select that. No, we just want to select this area right here. There we go. We're going to select that area. Why is it not selecting for me? Maybe it's control. There we go. And I'm going to put a stroke around both of these areas. So I'm going to do the top one first. I don't want it to be white. I just want to put a little stroke around it in black. And it doesn't even need to be that thick a stroke. So we're going to put in 0.25. And that should stroke that out with black. And then we're going to go down to the bottom one. Again, we're going to hit Control. And we're just going to make that a stroke as well. You can see now we've got a little bit of a line going on here. I can make that a little bit thicker, and I probably will just to make it stand out a little bit. So let's go to this one. We are going to put a stroke on this particular line, which we already have. And we are going to we don't need to anchor it, so we just need to, why is it anchoring? There we go. You got to click in the right spot. So again, we're going to put in a stroke. 1 point might be, let's have a look. Do we like 1 point? I think 1 point does it. So let's go back to this one. We're just going to go back to this particular one, and we're going to take that stroke right to 1 point. And that will fill in the areas that we need filled in. So that's where we're going to leave it for now. We've got our artwork on there. Again, I'm still learning this as well, so you guys have to bear with me. You're getting the benefit of what little knowledge I have. So we've got this centered. We're all ready to take it to the laser. So what we're going to do is we're just going to save this. We're going to do save as. We are going to put it into a file. For this, in this case, we're going to put it onto the computer. And then I'm going to pull up a file here that I already did. So let's open up a file. We're going to open up my coaster set file. And here you can see I've got all the coasters. Let me just again bring that out so you guys can see the whole artboard. So unfortunately, I can't get any more than 18 coasters on any one sheet because the coasters in this case are 3.5 inches around. And you can see here, if we zoom in, that we have that red line right here, and that is going to be our cutting line. Now, of course, I could have put all these closer together and that sort of thing, but I didn't bother. I just did it the way that I thought it should be done. This was my first try. Now, what's going to happen here, when the laser cuts and etches, it's going to etch everything that is black and leave all the white as a transparent color. Now, it's going to take that red and it's going to cut the red second. So in our setup on the laser cutter, we are basically telling it, do all the engraving first, then come back and cut out each of the coasters. And now we'll insert that footage. We did a little time lapse of doing the footage for cutting these coasters. So enjoy that, and I'll be back with you shortly. like that look at the Trotec Speedy 100. It's a fantastic machine. We got all kinds of great stuff out of it. I cut some coasters in wood. I cut some coasters, let me just wipe that off, in acrylic, and we engraved them as well. So we've got some acrylic coasters. I started my Millennium Falcon clock project. Now you probably can't see that very well. But it is a clock, and it's going to be a clock. I'm going to drill a hole here and then put a clock mechanism behind it. We did a sign for Spool 3D that we're going to light up and do a 3D printed base for it. We'll put some LED lights in it, and then we will go from there. Speaking of spool3d.ca, if you are looking for a printer or filament or even some parts for your upgrade to your printer or fixing the printer you already have, check out spool3d.ca. Now they've got everything that you need from printers, filaments, and parts to do any project. That's spool3d.ca. Print it right, print it with spool3d.ca. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you do, because you know, every little subscription helps. I did a sign for myself as well. I don't know how well it's going to translate, but there we go. That doesn't look very well. You probably see it better on my shirt, I think. Yeah, maybe. I did this on a smoke acrylic. Now, the best acrylic to cut on a laser cutter is cast acrylic. There's a difference between cast and extruded, and a lot of it has to do with the chemical. Extruded is also a lot more brittle than cast acrylic. So when you are buying materials for a laser cutter, whether you're using one at your makerspace, your local makerspace or not, make sure that you are getting cast acrylic. Okay, so that's just a little tip for you. And once you've got cast acrylic, you can pretty much do anything with it. You can cut it. Now the Speedy 100 has a 60 watt laser in it, as I mentioned earlier, and it also it's a CO2 laser, but it only has a 12 by 24 bed, so it's fairly small. You can print all kinds of things on it. What I'm going to do later on is I'm going to actually make some business cards with the laser, and I'm going to film that a little bit later on. This is the material we're going to use. This is what they call 16-point cardstock. Same stuff that your business cards are made out of now, but we're going to make some laser cut business cards for the first layer, and maybe we'll send some of those out to you. Now, we've got a contest going on, and we are very, very close to closing it. When we hit 500 subscribers, you're going to receive yourself the entire set of the George R. Martin books for the Game of Thrones, the entire set. You're also going to receive an action figure, a printed bust that we printed right here on the first layer, and you're also going to get a $50 gift certificate to Spool 3D, and that's going to all go to one lucky winner. We're going to draw the name as soon as we hit our 500 mark, and then we're on to 1,000. So stick around, stick with us. Make sure that if you've got any questions, put them in the comments down below, because I go back and I check all of that stuff later on, and I want to make sure that you guys are getting your answers to the questions that you're answering. Or if you'd like, you can send an email to me at richard@thefirstlayer.com, and I can answer your questions via email as well. Really quickly, we've got, hey, before we go, let's take a look at Dawn, the German printing nerd's makerspace.
So here I am right now in my apartment, and I'm just walking down the floor to the living room. And there is my working area. This is my living room. The only window inside. My couch. And if I zoom in a little bit, you can see there's Johnny 5. Like I said in prior videos, there is 4 big parts that have to be printed. There's some more parts over there. Yeah. And just got this table right here Just got this table Saturday for a few euro, which is good because when I move to a different apartment, I hope that I have more room for my complete desk and more room to work. There's my X-Wing. Here you can see my filament. I do have a few rolls. There's some more filament. Yeah, I try to get at least 1 or 2 rolls each month so that I have all of the colors. Here's my Wanhao i3 version 1. Yeah. Oh, there's my new graphic card for my dual monitor system. Not working too good right now. Yeah. But I have my laptop here. But yeah. Richard, this is my working area right now. It's not the best, but good enough for me.
Well, that was a great look at John's makerspace. We thank Don for sending that in, and that's the very first episode of our Maker Cribs, or a little segment that we want to call Maker Cribs that we're going to be adding into the show from now on. Hey, if you want to submit your video of your makerspace, just send it to me at richard@thefirstlayer.com, and I'll be happy to review it and put it up on the show. One thing, there are a couple of caveats to that. One thing that we want to know about is what you're using, what type of things you make, and mind your P's and Q's. We got to, because this is a family show after all. So thanks for joining me. If you'd like to support the show via Patreon, you can do that by going to our Patreon link. That's patreon.com/thefirstlayer. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you found some of the stuff on the show useful, please, by all means, leave a like down below, comments, or even subscribe and hit that little notification button so that you get notified every time that we do a brand new episode here on The First Layer. And I'm going to see you guys again Friday at 1:30 for our Coffee with Rich First Layer live stream. Until then, you guys have a great week and happy Valentine's Day.